Mino Lion Media presents Business First.
Hi, all, and welcome to a new episode of Business First with Sonia Aline. I am your host, and today we are going to talk beauty. In fact, we are going to talk about Bed of Beauty, which is run by a good friend of mine named Leah Davis. Hi, Leah.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. We had some technical difficulties, but we're up and running now. We're up and running. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into styling hair professionally.
I went to Empire Beauty School about 8.5 years ago. And from a little girl, I always been doing hair. I prefer hairstyling, but after getting my cosmetology license, I started going into the salon and working. But a lot of my clients, that's how Better Beauty became a thing, because a lot of my clients like the in-home care. They have kids, they work from home. So they're just like, Leah, hey, after work, they used to be my clients in the salon, but they will text me or call me and say, hey, can you give me a blowout? Can you do my hair for an event after work? And I'm just like, why not? You get to pocket the money. So instead of paying, having to give it to the owner of the salon. So that's how I started to get into doing hair outside of work.
Okay, because I believe I was probably one of those clients calling you and saying, hey, I can only do it at this hour. Can I come by or can you come by? And that's how it worked out. What was your experience like in the salons? Because that was kind of like your training ground, wasn't it?
Now I'm a cosmetologist educator now. I feel like it starts within the school. A lot of these young women today, which I respect, they have the entrepreneur mindset. Nobody wants to work in a salon anymore. But what I try to teach them, you also learn professionalism in beauty school. That is the core. Yes, people have talent and some people come to actually learn the craft, but it's the attitude, it's the character. So that's what I can truly say, that if they learn and take heed from that within beauty school, when they go into the salons, you'll be better at dealing with situations. Everybody is not pleasant, of course. I always tell them, you have to be about your money. You cannot let somebody take you out of character, because this industry is so small. The littlest thing you do, that's it. Nobody wants to work with you. So you should never let somebody take you out of character. So that's what I really try to stress now that I'm an educator.
Right. So expand a little bit more about that professionalism, because I get that, particularly with everyone developing their styles on Instagram, like everybody's sharing a lot of information. Look at this hairstyle, look at this hairstylist. And to your point, if you haven't really had a lot of, expertise dealing with the public, or if you're self-taught, I could see how that's going to affect your business if you don't know how to deal with the public. So expand a little bit about that. Are there some other things that you talk about? You talked about coming out of character, but are there some other things that you've noticed or that you've had to guide mentees on?
Every day, like, I questioned myself as I started teaching. I said, God, is this for me? Because it's a big task. You're dealing with young women that come from different walks of life who experience, like I always say, we love what we do, but all of us are fighting different battles when we come into a workplace. I tell them every day, we need to leave our problems at the door. And when we come inside, we have to put on a facade if you have to. And when we leave, you can pick that back up. We can't take our problems into the salon, into work. That energy is going to fall onto your clients and they're going to know that you're angry. And nobody wants an angry person behind their hair, cooking their food, anything. So I try to tell them that whatever is going on, leave it. Come into here with even if like the younger people would say you're faking it if you have to, but learn professionalism and your character is really all we have at the end of the day before somebody knows that you have a good talent or a good craft. Mm-hmm. So I stress that enough. People don't really care. And this is what my teacher told me when I was in beauty school. It's about, I think she said it's 20% talent and I think 80% your attitude. People, they don't really know until they get to know you that you're good at what you do. The first thing is what we have is what we give off. So she always says, be pleasant, be professional, and then they will come back. In the salon, I used to see certain stylists, you look to the left, no judgment, but you're like, what are they doing? But because they engaged in conversations, they overextended themselves to their clients and they were so pleasant all the time. Their clients came back in their chair weekly.
I know women like that who have said, my hairstylist isn't that great, but I really like her or I really like him. So, and I used to think that was so crazy that you would go sit in somebody's chair and you didn't really like what they were doing to your hair. But like you're explaining what that is.
Yes. And seeing it my teacher said it about 8.5 years ago, and I've seen it for myself that it is true. Doing hair is more than just being a hairstylist. Our clients come to let off a load. They tell us stuff that they don't tell their husbands. They tell us stuff that they don't tell their girlfriends. Because it's like, you're close to them, but you're not really that close. So like, they come into you to talk to you about, their personal things. So not all the time, every woman cares about how perfect you are in your craft. Is there time to let go? Be your true self. I had clients come to me and say, Leah, I just had a miscarriage. Can you please just make me feel, they just want that time to get their hair washed and feel beautiful. They don't really care like if the part is not straight or you didn't do it perfect. It's just their time to let go and be free.
So there's a lot more involved in hairstyling than hairstyling.
Correct.
Is that part of what you love about the job, about what you do?
Yes, it is. It's very rewarding because you get to see different walks of life. My mother was West Indian and my father is from Costa Rica. So you grow up a certain way. And when you hear even some of my clients' stories, you're like, even when they talk, even with their children, or they talk about experience they have. And I could talk. I said, well, my mother would have done X, Y, and Z. And they're like, no, my mother would have done X, Y, and Z. You get to see the different culture in people, the way people raise their kids, the way people get married. I mean, the stories are insane. And what I try to tell my students all the time, because they're so hard on themselves, especially because Instagram and Facebook and TikTok is such a big thing. I try to stress all the time, it's progression, not perfection. Just keep practicing and you're going to be the best at what you want. And it doesn't make sense to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Take it one day at a time. If you want to do extensions, try to perfect extensions. But with the society we have today, everything is so visual. Everything looks perfect. So it's really hard to keep the young women of today, and I'm not that old, but to try to keep them motivated. The first day I started teaching, I asked everybody, what do you want to do? What do you want to do when you get out of beauty school? And everybody was like, I want to work for myself and I want to be a boss. But I'm like, before you could be a boss, you have to learn to take direction. You have to learn to take direction. But this generation, nobody wants them to tell them what to do. So it's a task. It's a task.
Wow. So what are some of the aha moments that your students experience, after, and I would imagine that they probably have these aha moments after they've kind of gone out in the field a little and then have had to come back to you. Have you had students come back and say, "Oh, Miss Davis," or "Oh, Miss Leah, you were right," or "I understand what you say now"?
Well, I'm new. I freshly started doing it. So my students who I have currently, they haven't left as yet.
Okay. All right.
But I am waiting. Because I told them reality and life is a great teacher. It's a great teacher.
This is true. So tell us a little bit more about Better Beauty. So when did you actually decide to say, and I want to talk to you because I haven't talked to you in a while in terms of what you did over the pandemic. And so, that was an interesting time because people weren't going into the salons. People were sneaking people into their homes to get their hair done. They weren't telling anybody, but they were sneaking their hairstylist, the manicurist, if they could, to keep up on their beauty regimens. But what was working in the pandemic? What was that like for you?
Because I did both at the time while I was doing Better Beauty, because I started it a few years ago and I got discouraged and I didn't go through with it. But my friend kept stressing. And, also lack of knowledge starting your own business and fear held me back.
Okay.
But as I started to talk to more people, especially Miss Shelley, she started helping me with a lot of things. And during the pandemic, I had a little older lady that I used to do her hair in the salon. She used to call me to her house every day during the pandemic to blow dry her hair. Her hair was probably 3 inches, if that. 3 to 4, like I would say like the length of your middle finger. And every day to blow dry her hair for $100. And I was just going. It was, but I go back to what I was saying, like just to make you feel good, because it was a time where people had high anxiety, depression, they're home alone. So anything, like you said, sneak your hairstylist in to just make you feel good for those 10, 20 minutes, you did it.
Wow.
So that's how I started to pick back up during the pandemic, because my clients would just text me, hey, Leah, are you available for a blowout? And I would just go. But I started to cool it down a little bit when the numbers started getting higher, because I didn't want like myself or my clients getting sick.
Right, right. Tell us a little bit about what was making you frustrated when you said you started, Better Beauty, but you were feeling a little discouraged. You talked a little bit about the fear. Your fear is real for a lot of people starting businesses. Was that primarily it? Or were there other things?
Yes, because I was a part of both eras where there wasn't, internet. You had to wait for the phone to use the internet. Now there's so much stuff on social media. It's so hard because you're constantly comparing yourself and you don't feel good enough as a small business brand when it's like so much people have these nice pictures on their websites. They have these nice pictures on Instagram, and then you look at your work and it's just like, So it's like the lack of confidence and fear to actually put my work out there and to say, I did this and be proud of it, despite what I see on social media. Right. That is my weakness, I would say.
Right. And I think, what's interesting about social media is, before social media, what we appreciated about it was the authenticity of it, right? Because when you watch TV or film or magazines, we knew that they had created the lighting, that there was airbrushing, that there were all these things that made these pictures look perfect. And so social media was our opportunity to kind of just like show who we are. And now we're doing the same thing now that we criticize the TV and the magazine. So now everything has a filter and everything is like staged and everything is done that way. And so do people realize that that's what it is, that these aren't real images, that they're staged images? Or is the goal to be like, I want to be able to show myself and it look comparable to what's out there?
I think it's a little bit of both. I personally took down all my photos off of Instagram because it's like, I'm trying to rebrand myself into a more, I would say like a classic, cleaner finish and not have it to be so busy. But we do want to see the growth with the person that we're following or we're looking up to. But then it's just like we constantly compare ourselves to like the big dogs in the industry who've been doing it for a very long time. And we want our work to replicate that. But for myself, I have to constantly remind myself that they started from somewhere. Their work did not look like that starting out. And also my downfall is when people see my work, they say it's very good, but it's hard for me to like network. So it's like constantly getting out that shell and talking and putting your name out there, because this industry, as much as it is Instagram, it's still heavy on word of mouth. If somebody says that you work good, you have a good character, and it's no problem working with you, you're going to get many jobs. And that's how I get to do a lot of jobs, because of word of mouth. It's not solely based for me finding a job on social media. So that's why when people come to me and they're like, hey, do you have a portfolio? Like if it was last year, I'm like, no, what you mean a portfolio? Just trust me, I could do it. But that's not how it's working now with Instagram. They want to see a portfolio. They want to see a website. So I had to shapen up, get my website going, and clean up my Instagram. So when I have these jobs, I can be able to offer them my portfolio and work to show.
And so, what do you expect, or what is your goal for Better Beauty? Like Better Beauty, what would you like it if it's totally operating at an optimal level? What would that look like for you?
I want it to have workers. What I see that I've been getting drawn to is, because I'm no longer in a salon anymore and everybody's schedules are crazy and I now work from 9 to 5, a lot of my clients or my friends actually will call me and say, hey, I have a girlfriend. Her hairstylist just canceled on her. Can you go and run and do her hair real quick? Life happens. I want to have a mobile team that if anything goes wrong, even down to your wedding day, because it has happened where stylists get sick or they get stuck and they don't show up to big days, I want to be able that they can call me and my team and I can send one or two and they can go fill in. They can now take that job over.
Wow.
So I want to be kind of like girls who work in the salon, but they also work freelance as well, that they can be like an on-call type of hairstylist.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever think you would go back into a salon or create a salon for yourself? Or do you really think that the kind of concierge service that you do is going to be the direction for you?
I think a little bit of both. I like the on the go because I have done, like my mother used to say, like, girl, what are you doing here this late? Like I can have work the next day and I'm doing here like all 4 o'clock in the morning because it doesn't like bother me. And I just, my friends are like, hey, I have vacation. I'm coming over at 2 a.m. And I'm like, yes, you have to set boundaries, which I do agree, but I would just do it. But I also like the idea of having a salon that people could, come back to, because there are people who have their life in a routine that everything is fluctuating, that I would like to bring that back, but not a big one and not a chain, but just like a little salon suite.
So where can we find you? You said you took pictures off your Instagram, but you still have an Instagram, right?
Yes, I have an Instagram and it's Better Beauty, and I have my website up and running and it's betterbeauty.com.
Okay. All righty. So is there anything else you'd like to tell people or have them know about your brand or what they can expect in terms of service?
I love natural hair and I love doing weddings. I've been really getting jobs into photo shoots and things like that. That's the direction that I'm trying to go in as well now. But I have a link on a tab on my website that if somebody wants to get in contact or inquire about anything, they can fill out the form, they can email me, and I will get back to them within 24 to 48 hours.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, thank you, Miss Leah. And I guess I should tell the folks my bio picture for Business First is Hair by Leah. And so I'm proud to say that. Good to know you. Wishing you all the best. And yeah, we're going to be watching. We'll be keeping up with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening. We'll be here again next week with another great guest. So stay tuned. Take care.
The Business First podcast is hosted and produced by Sonia Aline. Associate producer, Ariel Mancebo. Executive producer, Ken Johnson. Find the Business First podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. And on social at business_first_podcast on IG. The Business First podcast is a Mean Old Line Media production.